I'll call the meeting to order. Let me brief you on emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles. Got minutes from last month were in your packet. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? If there are none, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? And a second. I think Caldwell had already seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. We have, you have in front of you a plat that is a request to add to the agenda tonight. Doug, do you have any comments on it, or John?
Yes, this one was one that we were working on. We almost put it on the agenda. There were some issues about septic that were finally resolved, and Gary Ferguson has signed the plat. And in order not to allow them to be delayed, I think they're trying to get a closing very soon. I'd like to have that on the agenda. It's pretty simple once you grant the variance.
Okay. Do I have a motion to add the plat for the re-subdivision of the Patricia G. Thompson property to the agenda? I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Where'd that go, John? Under miscellaneous items?
Yes, third item under miscellaneous.
Okay, no public hearings tonight. Preliminary plats, major subdivision of Amburn Builders, LLC, property lots 9 through 12 off of Peach Orchard. Doug?
Okay. Staff analysis begins on the first page. It's 3 lots, 1 with road frontage and 2 lots to be served exclusively off the 25-foot easement. If you'll see lot number 8, it's actually served off this easement as well. So if you look at the plat, lot 8, 9, and 10 will be 3 lots served exclusively off the easement. Lot 11 has the road frontage, and I'm anticipating that they'll cut lot 12 and get their 4th lot exclusively off the easement later. The reason that you see it divided this way, 3 lots and a remainder, is because Peach Orchard Road is actually 17 feet wide instead of 18 feet wide, so there's a limitation to 4 lots per year off the parent track. The outstanding items to be completed, are in the bottom of page 4. Item number 1 is a pre-construction meeting prior to any additional on-site work. All required permits to staff, all instructions in the staff analysis for the construction of the common driveway, the paving of the entrance, and construction of all utility improvements. And number 2 is to supply a copy of the maintenance agreement to staff for review. And I'll address any questions you may have.
Commissioner McClellan?
Is lot 8 already a plat of record?
Lot 8 is, yes.
Okay. He just needs to add the map file reference to it then.
Yeah, I told him to do that. I think I might have a newer version that came in on my computer. We'll make sure it gets on there.
Any other questions?
I have a question just for clarification. The 4 lots per year, when did we make that for, how long has that been now?
It's been a number of years. And it actually, when we adopted the new subdivision regulation, we actually did it, I think, by policy before, and then we formalized it in the new subdivision regulations, which, believe it or not, now were approved, I believe, in October of 2006.
Well, that's my question. I remember back when we went through this road, the 18, 2 and 2. Is that kind of when that came about? Is that
Yes.
correct? And I remember we had an abundance of requests and subdivisions, and we did that somewhat to kind of slow down the development of the subdivision regulate. Is that correct? Am I saying that right?
We weren't trying to slow it down. We were just trying to take cognizance of limited infrastructure for major subdivisions. So we wouldn't get a 40-lot subdivision immediately on a 10-foot wide road, that kind of situation.
Is that still, where I'm going ultimately, is that still a issue of concern today?
Yes.
It's in our regulations, yes.
I mean, it's a concern. It's a concern because if a subdivision came in tomorrow with 20 lots off of 13-foot wide county road, would you approve it? Just because we haven't seen other subdivisions in the past. 18 was a standard that John researched heavily to find out was a good minimum road width basis that the highway department supported in order for a major subdivision to go in at one time. Now you could still get 40 lots on this road. It would just take you 10 years to do it.
Okay, no problem. I just remember that conversation when we, remember the school capacity theory that we went down that road as well for a while, and this kind of reminds me of that same criteria.
They were both adopted in the subdivision regulations at the same time. Since that time, the school criteria has gone away in the subdivision regulations, but the road standard has remained the same.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion for approval with subject to staff recommendation.
David, second. If there's no further questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Deja Vu Meadows off of Winston Drive, 3 lots, 2 served off of a 50-foot common driveway.
This item begins on page 5. It'll probably help if you actually have the plat open while I talk about it. I'll try to be brief. If you'll look at the gravel drive, that's to the left of the 3 lots. That is what they call Ogala Drive. It's a private common driveway. It's not a private road. It's a common driveway, and it serves actually 4 lots exclusively off of that easement. One of them being the lot to the left that doesn't have a name on it. It's that blank area. I actually do have an updated version of this plat. Unfortunately, the last 2 plats that came in after we sent these out, and we want to make sure you have something to look at, even though the surveyors are sometimes still updating the plats from our comments. There's 1 lot to the left. There's the remaining lands you'll see of Lowell L. Woods. There's a lot number 1 that you'll see to the right above lot 3. And then there's 1 more lot that you cannot see on this plat that Mr. Woods owns. Mr. Woods owns the remainder, the lot 1, and the additional lot in the back. This tract was actually part of the subdivision off of Winston Drive. And it's actually currently 1 lot. There are 2 homes on that lot. Those 2 homes sit on the proposed lot 2 and the proposed lot 3. If you look really close on lot 3 and lot 2, you'll see a dashed center line for a gravel driveway for both of them. Both of those gravel driveways actually connect with Ogala Drive, which is in the easement. They are of long standing. That's how they were built originally by the original owner. I don't know the entire history of how they got built on Lowell Woods' common driveway, but they did. A lawsuit ensued after that, and the court established that those 2 drives were allowed to stay on that easement as long as they assumed some maintenance responsibility. That amount was $100 per year per lot, and that is still the standing today. This tract, Deja Vu Meadows, which is currently 1 lot, was transferred from the original owner that built the 2 homes to the new owner. She is requesting to divide this single tract into the 3 lots that you see. Lot 3 is to have access exclusively off the easement. That would be tract number 5. Lot number 2 would be number 6 off the easement exclusively. And in order to liquidate some property for the purpose of not having to mow it, she was going to cut a lot off of Winston Drive, and we were going to limit that to not have any access off the easement. I'd like you to keep in mind there is enough land on the Lowell Woods property that there may be a request for future division off it, as well as the tract to the left of the easement. Neither of those have made any indication that they want to divide the property, and both have agreed with this division, as we require. It's not in the regulations, but it's a policy that we have them sign, and both of those, since there's only 2 other owners of 4 tracts, they've both agreed that since these are existing and since they already pay maintenance, they don't have a problem with the division of land. The variance is to the number of lots exclusively off the easement. So it'd essentially be going from 4 and maxing it out to 6. Now, I would like to point out that very similar situations without necessarily the 3rd lot have occurred several times in the last several years. And on at least the last 3 occasions, the Planning Commission approved the exact situation. Oh, and I think I may have some outstanding items. I'm sorry. I am missing a page. Is anybody missing page 7 or just me? Okay. Outstanding items to be completed. Number 1, the consideration of the variance request by the Planning Commission. Number 2 is a maintenance agreement for lots 2 and 3 along the common driveway, and this has actually already been established by the court. I think we're just supposed to get a copy of that. Number 3 is a corrected signature plats with all certifications and platting fee. A couple of the certifications are not necessary on here, so I'll make sure the surveyor takes them off, and that's it.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Commissioner McClellan?
I make a motion to approve, but I just wondered on this end of this 50-foot easement, he's got calls all around the easement, but the last 2 calls are they on the plat you redid, or shouldn't they be on there?
They should be on there. We'll make sure they get on there.
Which ones are missing?
Kind of open them without a description.
Well, it's described their access by the length of the...
Okay, well, I mean, he described it over here. I don't explain it. Okay. Motion to approve.
With the variance? Okay. Do I have a second? Second. Any further questions, discussion before we vote? All those in favor of approving the plat with variance, subject to staff recommendations, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Lowell and Wilma Gregory property off of Schoolhouse Gap Road.
Okay, bottom of page 7, miscellaneous item. This is 2 lots served by a common driveway easement. There's a variance request to the minimum width of the easement. Once again, if you'll look at the drawing, it might be helpful. If you'll see the tract in the front, the Rebecca Glass and Cheryl Holt property to the left, that is actually the easement. It's only 18 feet wide. And then it comes up and it's a little bit sketchy there. I think we need to add a little triangle, but it then connects with the next section of roadway, which is contained in the easement that is 32 feet wide, simply because of the meandering nature of the driveway. There are 2 homes on this property. The owner simply wants to divide them so she can liquidate one. The driveway is all concrete all the way back. I can tell you that the driveway in the front, from Schoolhouse Gap all the way back, is concrete, and it's in really, really good condition. The reason it's 32 feet, like I said, is not for the purpose of passing. I don't know that you could pass on it really very well unless you actually pulled off the road. It's because there's so many trees, and they come right up to the edge of the 12-foot wide concrete path. So you'd actually have to physically move one car out of the way, but since it's such a short section and the two homes are already there, I don't think that's really a concern. The front 18-foot section is actually wider open, and you could actually pass a vehicle within the 18 feet. 18 feet is the dimension we just talked about for the width of a county road. So there is a little more room there than it would appear to be. Other than that, I really don't have much to add unless John does. I do want you to know that we have approved, or the Planning Commission has approved similar variances in the past. The last one that I wrote in here was in 2008, and it was 20 feet wide. I can't see any reason to really hold this up to ask them for more room, that just for the sake of having 25 feet, but that's obviously up to the Planning Commission. The only outstanding item I would have to be completed would be, or two, is the consideration of the variance request and signature plats with Health Department approval.
Commissioner McClellan?
I make a motion to approve, but shouldn't that easement be described with meets and bounds in some way tied down?
We can make sure that it gets done that way.
Good. Commissioner Harrison?
Doug, in your opinion, can a fire truck get in there safely in and out?
Yep. Well, they can get in there safely in and out on the path.
Right.
I don't know about overhanging trees and limbs.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that's something that.
But the road's wide enough.
Oh, the road is wide enough to get a vehicle in. They might have to back it out, slowly walk someone behind it, but yeah, they could get one into those houses. They might have to knock some limbs over to get back there.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, you made a motion to approve. All right, we have a motion to approve with variance, subject to staff recommendation and changes, adding the meets and bounds. Do I have a second? Second. We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Doug. John?
Okay, the third item that you voted on the agenda is the re-subdivision of the Patricia G. Thompson properties along Peach Orchard Road. This went through several iterations. There was one that came in with 30,000 square feet on Lot 2. By the way, Lot 2 is substandard as it sits. The only thing that's being changed here is to shift the line over to take in the driveway to the house. That's the only change there. They did make it 30,000 in one iteration, but that adversely affected lot number 1 for septic. And Gary Ferguson worked out something that they could just swing the line over to take in the driveway and not affect the septic on lot number 1. That kept lot number 2 then less than the required 30,000 square feet. Since this is a change of an existing lot situation, just a shift of lot line, they're asking for a variance on lot size for lot 2 to allow this division to occur.
Okay. Does everybody understand? Any questions or comments? We're expanding the lot 2, which is already an existing substandard lot, expanding it slightly to include the driveway, but it will remain a substandard lot. Commissioner McClellan?
Question, that residence gets removed in any way, do we need to put a note that any new residents would have to meet the new setbacks?
There's a note number 7 that should address that, and I can't read it too well, but that's permitted structure is removed. Yeah, that note number 7 is our standard for that. Well, I got a larger one here if you want to take a look at it.
Okay, so the note is already there.
Yes.
Do I have a motion? We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second, McClellan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Did I have a nay? Okay. It's unanimous. Long range.
Okay. Long range actually addresses the situation that you just approved. We found out that, I thought that we could do this under lot line adjustment, but it seems that since it's the same property owner, it's really not adjusting between two property owners, separate property owners, so we couldn't use that. I'm proposing, at least for your consideration, that for a two-lot plat such as this, and you'll see at the bottom of the page, general discussion on the A and B, that if both lots were less than required design prior to lot line adjustments, then plat shall be considered for variance and approved by the Planning Commission. The reason being there is if you're increasing one, you're reducing another, and if they're both substandard, you're making another one even more substandard. Either that or you're shifting the line and making it equality, but there's probably some effect there that you need to look at a little more closely, and I think it ought to come to the Planning Commission. However, if one lot is being reduced but still meets required design, such as 30,000 square feet, and the other lot is being enlarged but is less than required design after lot line adjustment, then the plat may be approved under provisions of one lot plat waiving minimum design requirements so long as septic capability is not changed or is improved. Situation like you had just tonight. What I'm asking for is moving this type of situation out of the variance realm in the Planning Commission, just allowing it to be an administrative plat, similar to a lot line adjustment between two different property owners.
Okay. Any questions or comments on John's suggestion?
If you are amenable to this, I can bring back the formal wording. It'll take an amendment of the subdivision regulations, but I can bring back the formal wording at the next meeting.
Does anybody have an objection to us moving in this direction? This will be we're not approving it tonight. It'll have to come back before us. We'll have to have an adjustment to the subdivision amendment to the subdivision regulations, and we'll have to have a public hearing on the subdivision regulations.
Yeah, I'm asking, is there any objection to this approach of getting it out of the variance situation each time it comes up and putting it into administrative approval?
Seems to make sense to me, John.
I'll take that as a consensus, and I'll bring something back formal next meeting.
Speak now or forever hold your peace. Go at it, John. Anything else, John?
Just a couple of items. One is that Plan East Tennessee has a website, and I sent out an email to everyone. Please check your email. The deadline is tomorrow to participate in that. It's a very simple participation. Take you probably less than 15 minutes to do, so please check your emails on that. I also sent out at about the same time a training session that's put on by the East Tennessee Development District, TDEC, and Tennessee Ready to Work. It's on July 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. July 30th at 6 to 8 p.m. at the Rural Metro Training Center's Gallows Point Drive in Knoxville. That'll give you 2 hours if you're missing those. Just as a little update, we've got 4 people that have their hours, and it's middle of the year, which is pretty good. Most everybody has about half their hours at least. I'd suggest that if you can go to one of these, go to this training session, please do so. It sounds like it's interesting, and I'm actually going to try to make it myself.
Okay.
Check
Anyone
your
else?
email on that one too. Okay.
Anything else for the good of the order? If not, we are adjourned.